All right, we are now joined by Kevin Harvick, driver of the number 4 Budweiser Chevrolet. Kevin clinched your spot in the eliminator round of the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup with last week's win at Charlotte. How does that affect your mindset and strategy coming into this week's race here at Talladega?
Well, I think obviously, it takes a lot of pressure off of not having to worry about a strategy. You just go race, and those guys have worked really hard on the cars to make them as good as they can, no matter what the scenario was. So at a bare minimum, I think we owe it to them to race and the fans to race as hard as we can and try to take the same approach that we've had, all year, and that's try to run well in practice, qualify well, lead laps, and try to win a race. So, if it works out, it works out. I guess that's the thing that comes out of last week is that if it works out, fine. If it doesn't, fine. So just race hard.
Okay, we'll open it up for questions. We'll start with Ed, then go to Steve and Tom. Need a mic right here, Michelle.
Ed Hinton, ESPN.com. Kevin, do you come into Talladega with the biggest sigh of relief you've ever come here with in your life?
I don't know about that. I think there's obviously still, a lot of things to worry about coming to Talladega, no matter if you're on the good side, bad side, in between side. But I look at that at last week as just kind of what we're supposed to do, what we should have done a number of times, if it wasn't for just crazy things happening and mistakes and different things that have happened. But I think that's all part of the building process. I think you look at that as last week as great timing for our circumstances. I think building a new team, having new people and new situations and a lot of things to learn, I think this format has allowed us to mature through the process of a year. And hopefully you're, getting to a refined point that you think is where you need to be to race for a championship. And last week was kind of the beginning of that, and we can, close out the last several weeks, hopefully at the same level that we have last weekend. So we'll just keep doing what we're doing. I don't know that I think there's a huge sigh of relief in a way, but I think there's also, it's kind of like, that's what you want to do and expect to do at this time of year.
And also to follow up on that a little bit, does not having to win this race or not even having to do well or finish this race, in a way for you and your team, does that almost increase your chances of winning this race?
You might be right there. I think that the mindset went to completely aggressive after the win last week, and I think everybody's relaxed. Really doesn't matter what the outcome is unless you win. It's still, in my opinion, very important to try to win just for the fact that you keep somebody else from winning. And obviously there are some people that are in a pretty vulnerable spot unless they win. So being aggressive and trying to lead laps and take those points away and win the race and not allow that automatic bid going forward is really the main goal.
Okay, go ahead, Steve, and then we'll go to Tom.
Steve Post, Motor Racing Network. Kevin, the infield here at Talladega, how do you describe the infield, East Tobogga Boulevard? I know there's a big party out there. How would you describe that?
Fun. I think every time you go out there, everybody's having a great time, and I think obviously with the parade and the events that the Speedway created last time is adding to that. So looking forward to tonight's events and seeing what tonight's contests are for the people to participate in, because by that time they will be well they'll be a lot of fun to watch. So I'm looking forward to that.
Was there anything the last time that just stood out to you when they had the big event, the big parade, the big party? Was there anything particular?
Just the amount of people that showed up. We kind of started the parade last time, and I'm like, well, there's not very many people here. There was a lot of empty spots, and next thing you know, you look behind the trail of the parade, and everybody didn't fully understand what was going on. Next thing you know, you've got thousands of people following you to the end of the little strip there, and turned into a big party. So it was fun.
Go ahead, Tom.
Hi, Kevin. Tom Jensen, FoxSports.com. Two questions for you. Given the speed that you've had in your car all year and the calmness that you've had even sometimes when things didn't go right, Are you more confident than ever that this is your best shot at a championship?
I think we're doing as good a job as anything I've ever been involved in. I think that the main thing is just the speed in the race cars, knowing that that piece has been there all year. It's not like you've had to worry about that, and we've continued to have that. So it's just a matter of controlling all the things that we can control, and I feel good about all those pieces.
And as one of the guys who's a definite championship favorite, do you want to see the 48 and the 88 knocked out this round?
Well, I think anytime you see people in a vulnerable position that they could not advance to the next round, from a competitor's standpoint, you want to do everything you can do to try to keep an upper hand, and whatever your best shot is for your team is what you want to see happen. Obviously, you have some feelings one way or another towards teams and drivers and different people, and you kind of want to see different scenarios play out and the excitement and everything to go with it. But in the end, you want the best scenario for your team to win a championship from a pure greed standpoint, I guess you could say. And really, it's what we're here to do, and that's try to win the championship. So you want the best scenario for your team, and it's going to be an interesting weekend, regardless of how it all shakes out and who wins the race. It's going to be as interesting lead into a weekend as we've ever had, just because of the format and the scenario, and the cars that are on the outside looking in, and how close everybody is, and coming to Talladega. There's just so many variables in what could happen. For me, I'm just excited for the sport, and looking forward to seeing how it all shakes out.
Okay, we got another question over here. Go ahead.
John Householder, NASCAR Productions. This is a preview question for next week. You had a 7th place finish at Martinsville in March. How are you and your team preparing for that race in efforts to get off to a good start now in the Eliminator round?
Heck, I haven't even got past Talladega yet. Is that a Saturday or a Sunday race? I hadn't even thought about it. And that's just kind of the approach that we've taken. But it's, obviously Martinsville can be as crazy as Talladega if things start getting out of hand. And I think, for us, we probably ran better than 7th. We had a failure on one of the pieces on the rear end the last race there. So I feel like we should run well. It's just a matter of every other weekend, just got to put it all together.
Okay, we've got another question. Go ahead, Marty.
Marty Smith, ESPN. What'd you make of that mess after the race last Saturday? I know you were burning down and doing victory lane, but I'm sure you saw some of the bedlam.
That's a week's worth of videos to catch up on, so I didn't know that the whole chase went through the garage and through transmissions and parts and pieces and people. Didn't know that Matt Kenseth had that in him. To be that fired up, and so I think it just shows you the intensity and everybody knowing that every moment matters, and those guys all know that whatever moments they were mad about could be the moment that ended their championship chase. And I think as a competitor you're frustrated, and obviously we all kind of lose our minds at times and do things that you wish you could take back, but in the end, it just goes to show you, how much everybody wants it and how intense it is to be racing in this particular format. So, obviously, driving through the garage and all those things are not something that is taken well in the big truck over there. But all in all, it's sometimes we do things that we wish we wouldn't have done.
Thanks, man.
Okay, go ahead with your question, Claire.
Claire B. Lang, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. You were talking last week in Victory Lane about, it was a good explanation about the moment. There's so much that means everything in that moment. And when we come to Talladega, and you talk about losing your minds occasionally, do you guys have a cognizant fact that at Talladega that doesn't happen because it's so fast and so Talladega?
You just come here crazy. Yeah. I think you just, here you hope for the best and you try to put yourself in whatever spot you think is the safest. There's really no good spot to race in as far as avoiding trouble, just for the fact that that anything can happen at the front of the pack, the back of the pack, the middle of the pack, and I think all of us that have done this long enough have wrecked at some point in all those different spots. So it's there is no safe spot. The best super speedway race we've had all year, we raced as hard as we could all day, and we're racing for the win here in the spring. So that's the approach that we're going to take. I think whether that's right or wrong, it's like rolling the dice. You just hope that your number doesn't come up, and you just go do what you think is the best thing to do, and see how it all shakes out.
Is there a feeling in Talladega you wouldn't kind of get out of control, getting angry, or the sorts of things you might do at another track, or could the chase provoke more here?
Well, I've left here mad too. So if you see somebody that just didn't make a good move, or you made a bad move, whatever the case may be, I mean, it's no different than anywhere else. You just come here knowing that you've got a 50-50 shot, whether you're going to roll out of here and on the tow truck or on your own four wheels.